Let's get right into it. Kan jy hierdie keer ons jou ander klapper?
Ja, dis beter, né?
I love competing against others, and if there's someone better than me, it makes me want to push myself even more to try and get better than them.
We've proved ourselves time and time again, and we're starting to change that narrative where we considered as real title threats every year in all the classes we race.
Everything leads up to the end of the year, the last race, going for the national championship.
When you put that number one on your bike, you know you're the best of the best. So that's really going to be something special to watch him do that.
Who are the favourites for the 2023 season?
Oh, me for sure.
The name is Joshua Mlimi, age 24. I ride for Husqvarna Racing and my discipline is motocross.
So my name's Grant Ferrix, I'm the marketing manager and I oversee all the racing aspects of the Husqvarna racing team.
So I'm Heinrich Aust, I race for Husqvarna South Africa. I'm 20 years old and I live for it.
Sport in South Africa is almost like a religion. I think every family in South Africa are following some discipline of sport and they take it quite seriously. We have these high caliber athletes here in South Africa that have won tournaments, events, championships that some go overseas and compete there to ideally showcase their skill set and achieve further goals. And with them achieving stuff overseas also shows how high standards are in sports.
If you look at off-road racing as a whole, it's a really small sport in comparison to school sports, mainstream sports. If you play rugby, you play school level, then you play Craven Week, then you play interprovincial, and then you play baby box. Whereas for motocross, you can enter a national, anyone can enter national. It's a matter of buying a license and going and entering and racing.
I think in South Africa there's still a lot of draw towards being outdoors and chasing goals and learning toughness ideally, and that's what's giving us such great athletes. It's developed from a young age, from school, where it's a very serious thing at school, from primary school all the way up to matric and high school. You've got coaches, you've got all these different school activities that are taken quite seriously. So it's kind of brought in us at a young age. The country is so supportive to the sports on the level that we are at. If you look at the Rugby World Cup, it's becoming a household thing. Who's not watching the Springboks play rugby? It creates a celebration and a gathering that brings so many families and communities together in our country. In the 21st century today, things are on a whole new scale. We have just so much more going on in the world, and production times and manpower is way better and bigger than obviously 120 years ago. The Husqvarna brand is iconic. Founded in 1903, the brand is celebrating its 120th anniversary right now. And the brand has been manufactured in multiple countries around the world, from Sweden originally to Italian motorcycles, and to its latest that is the Austrian since 2013. I don't think this generation and anyone around today can really understand what went into pioneering a motorcycle and going to the manufacturing, the designing, just production processes, manpower. The one thing that sits is that it was awesome, because that's why the sport's still going and people are loving motorcycles more than ever. Back in the day, it started out as grass track riding. Bikes were developed and made, and these guys just went out to the hills and rode around, and then another guy had one, and then all of a sudden there was a few of them, and to the point where they started racing these grass track events. Just heading out there to ideally scramble, and that's what it was called, the scrambling. And I just look at it like, today we've got machinery to make the perfect motocross tracks and enduro courses, and we've got all the best gear to protect us and make things more comfortable. So yeah, back in the day, 120 years ago, things were tough, and it obviously made people tougher, and they really, you know, pioneered the sport for us. Husqvarna motorcycles, very well known obviously all around the world and well established in all its disciplines. Coming to South Africa, we see quite a different diversity. Maybe 10, 15 years ago, coming into it quite seriously, and I think the championships that they've managed to get already is only leading towards more in the future.
So we're a real close-knit racing team in Husqvarna. You know, we're quite a small team in the bigger picture.
We've proved ourselves time and time again, and we're starting to change that narrative where we considered as, you know, real title threats every year in all the classes we race. So I think that narrative is slowly disappearing.
It's nice, you know, we've got Davin Cocker. He races 2 different disciplines for us.
He's actually our cross-country rider, but a phenomenal motocross rider, and was doing motocross as training, as cross training. And we said to him, "Hey, Dav, do you want to race motocross?" And he got this massive smile on his face.
My name's Davin Cocker. I'm 20 years old. I was born in Zimbabwe and I race for Husqvarna South Africa. I always used to jump on the front of my dad's bike and ride around the farm with him. And then when I was 3 years old, he bought me my first PW50, and I haven't stopped racing since then.
Stepping up onto the big 450 is Josh Malimi. He's a really talented rider, really smooth. He raced the last round on the 450 last year, and his style and his approach to racing really suits the bigger bike.
I remember going to the track to watch my dad racing, which was his dream, to make it from the homelands to Johannesburg, which he did do, and all he wanted for me was to learn how to ride a bike. And it started out for fun, and then started getting the sweet taste of victory.
I'm really excited to see what he does on the big powerful 450 this year, stepping up to the premier class. I think he has what it takes to run top 3 the whole year.
It's harder this year, but I still remain positive in the hopes of keeping the dream alive. There's a lot of unity within the team. Everyone has a background of racing, so everyone kind of understands right off the go what is needed and which way to look forward. So I think that gives the team a real good boost and an advantage over the rest.
in our Enduro team, we've got Heinrich Aust again. He's been with us for many years. He started off with us when he was 15 or 16, and we've been grooming him through the ranks, you know. For sure, we're there to win with him, and he knows that he's putting in the effort. He's really become a real good Enduro rider and a hard Enduro rider, and a model athlete, and he's a good ambassador for the brand, so we're really happy to have him on board again for 2023.
You get a lot of different racing, off-road, motocross, enduro, rally, but I think enduro racing for me is my favorite because you really have to push yourself to the limit. You're pushing your bike to the limit as well. You need to make sure your bike stays in one piece, your body stays in one piece, and there's lots of key factors that you need to remember on enduro, and I think that's what makes a sport enjoyable for me. So obviously when you're privateer, you are racing for yourself, out your own budget, and it becomes a little bit easier if you can afford it. But racing for a team, you obviously want to promote them, you want to bring them results, and you also want to take them to the next level.
At the top level in South Africa, again, there's all these pressures of sponsors, and ideally all the sponsors also want more value out of it all. So there's just constant pressure, and you get days where it's just smooth sailing, you're on form, things slow down, and you just gel. You work well, you work great. Those are the days we all cherish, the sponsors, the riders, the athletes, the moms and dads. It's easy. You look back at it and you think, oh, that was cool. It's really a special feeling. We have teams, we have support structures, and you would categorize them as professional pro teams versus privateer teams. If we break it down, your pro team or factory team, let's say, you're working with the hub of the manufacturer. You're basically getting the tools to do the job as best as you can. If we look at the privateer teams, it's really the opposite end of the scale. You are probably working a job, your dad's helping you, they're using funds from the home, you're traveling there with all your stuff. There's a great support structure in the very beginnings of the sport, but it's just a lot tougher. You sometimes racing with a second-hand tire, you're just doing the best that you can on the budget that you're given. I just love referring to the pro level, to the factory level, because they have that pressure of that guy catching them. If a factory rider has been overtaken or beaten by a privateer or a satellite rider, it's just not a great image to them. It's like, hey, you've got the best of the best, why are you letting him beat you, So there's so many pressures that come from both ends of the spectrum that I'm talking about, that I think back to your question is that the guys at the bottom of the scale are really hungry, and there's so much satisfaction in beating riders that have more than you. In the world of off-road motorcycle racing, there's 4 main disciplines, and these are the likes of rally, cross-country, off-road, enduro, and motocross. Rally racing is a form of racing most well known for the Dakar Rally. We all watch it every year, we all get excited and anticipate it. It's spread over multiple days, stage racing. Because you're spanning such a distance, you're covering all sorts of terrains, from little rocky, very loose soil, to mountain passes, to most commonly is the sand dunes. A lot of these rallies are shared between disciplines of cars, trucks, buggies. You're not a motorcycle on the road only. There are other problems out there, and we've seen in the past where the sand dunes are always catching people out. Sometimes you even get lost out there on your own. You're just watching your road book, you're checking your navigational stuff out. With the speeds that they travel, I mean, they really are sitting at 150 kilometers plus for multiple hours at a time through technical terrain. Cross-country off-road racing is a discipline in still long distance, but shorter than, let's say, rally racing.
You know, the guys are constantly running through the gearbox, they're getting up to top speed. They're not really any slow speed sections apart from where they're coming into a turn and then they'll climb through the gears again.
For the cross-country, I'd describe it as dusty most of the time.
Cross country starts off with a time trial in the morning, it's actually quite vital to the event. You know, sometimes it can be a strategic way to, you know, not go all out in the time trial. If you're not so confident leading out on lap 1, you know, you can actually make up time if you start behind someone. And then we go straight into the main race where the guys are going to be out on their bikes between 3 and 5 hours depending on the track distance. And it's physically demanding, you know, the guys will put their bodies through paces for those 3 to 5 hours and really test their mind, their body and the capabilities of the machine. At the end of the day, the first person to the flag's the winner. It's pretty easy and pretty basic. The fastest guy wins. So we've got traditional enduros and then we've also got the extremes. The extreme enduros, they're a lot more technical. You know, the guys are going to be scrumming their bikes the whole day.
You have to kind of pace yourself. It's not just flag to flag, running it flat out, trying to exhaust yourself. You must try to save some energy for the end of the race because you're not necessarily racing for an hour or two, you're racing for 5 or 6 hours, sometimes 10 hours.
Very, very challenging on the body and the mind and on the machinery as well. You know, it's not just about how fast you can go, you also have to look after your bike. Motocross is obviously raced on a motocross track. You know, it's a dirt track specifically built with jumps, generally groomed in the morning, really nicely prepped, watered, ripped.
Some would say motocross is quite repetitive, but in my opinion it's great because you can become better and better so quickly. You have a rough 2-minute time to do that turn or that jump better and better.
Motocross is very demanding and it's very fast, so you have to be on it all the time. Off-road you get a bit of a break every now and then around the fields and that, but motocross and off-road both very demanding sports.
So at motocross the track really develops throughout the day. You know, it forms ruts, it forms braking bumps. The guys are doing between 10 and 18 laps in a moto, whereas on cross country they're only doing 4 or 5 laps, so there's only a certain amount of bikes going through each turn at a cross country. So the motocross track gets really rutted, really deep and gnarly, and like I say, the track progresses throughout the day.
So the difference between motocross, enduro and cross country, I'll start off with motocross. I like to see where I'm going. I can calculate the track and the fastest way around it. Whereas enduro is more for people, like my definition is for people that like to suffer and just do extreme hard stuff, and cross country, someone that really loves high speed.
At the start of round 1, it's an equal playing field for all competitors. In motocross, 25 points is awarded to the winner, plus the red plate. Cross-country racing and enduro are awarded 30 points for first place and also get the red plate. Going into the next round, the person with the red plate is your current championship points leader. Depending on current championship standings, the red plate can move from one rider to the next. After the final race of the season, the rider with the red plate and the most championship points is your national champion.
The red plate definitely carries its own weight, both being a confidence booster and one being a big target on your back. Everyone is chasing you.
Quite a special event because, you know, when you get here, it's just going to be sand and whoops.
It wasn't the best of days. I kept on putting it down in the corners and that.
The rain held out really good. We thought it was going to be a mudder. Practice started off really wet, so didn't know what to expect for the motors coming in, but the track turned out to be really challenging and tough.